at 5 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. Please stand and pledge allegiance to the
Anything else? Spot somewhere.
flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone.
One thing I want to say, all those with cell phones, please either mute or turn them off, please. Now you got it.
Okay, check my phone.
Why don't you just call my name?
Okay, so you should all have an agenda. It looks longer than it really is. First three budgets, public works, transfer station, municipal buildings will be Fred Snowden. And we start with public works, it's alphabetical, it's at the back. What I have done is run through the budget, and then if there are any questions you might have for Ted above and beyond my quick run through. None of the budgets are particularly different than last year, which is good, a little bit lower in some cases. So if I start, it will be page 52, public works. Yes.
Excuse me, is it possible maybe whoever's department head, we can pull that little table over and they can sit up?
Put in the middle.
I have a stand and,
No, really?
We can do that.
but it just seems like, no.
Oh, you just sit there, we can see it.
Put them on the corner.
Well, if you pull that out.
Oh, give me.
Step right up.
You tell me if I'm moving right.
No, and this one. I think you got a chair, Ted.
Do you want,
Well,
is this blue okay for you, Ted? Blue? That's mine.
Did you have my chair? What, this one? Everybody happy now?
Well, I am.
Okay, thank you.
That's mostly what matters. If you look at the summary on the personnel line, last year it was 293,800. This year it's 300,701. Very small differences. As you know, all the wages for now have been adjusted, have been increased 2%, and that's basically it. And again, you're aware that the contracts haven't been settled, so we may end up with a different number. And I really got nothing particular to add on that. Electricity would be line 2001, exact same figures last year, 5750. Phone and internet, exactly the same number, would be 2002, 1650. Heating oil, a little bit less, as you know, we got oil at less than $2 a gallon, which is helpful. On the next page, 2005, water, same as last year, 1940. Sewer, 45, both years. And again, on the sewer, you know that Rick has said we'll have a gap year, if you will. Won't have any increase in sewer rates this year. Next year, of course, we'll have to play catch up. But we got enough things piled on. And you'll notice on the utility summary, 16,685 last year, this year 16,085. Advertising, a little bit more, was 100 last year, 600 this year. Got some vacancies, and we've had an ad in the paper. Let's see, catch basin, same figure as last year, Ted, right? 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Striping just has to be done. Little drop in the tree cutting. Very specifically, there were 11 trees last year, $1,000 a piece. People have been complaining about the storm and big trees falling in the wrong places and waiting to fall. But there are still quite a number of trees out there that need to be cut. $8,000 we figured should get you there.
8 trees, maybe a little bit.
better.
Yep. And you can interrupt me anytime. The chair does, interrupts me all the time.
And the other chair, too.
Oh, yes. Let's see, going into the insurance, property casualty, that's just a factor of whatever the rates are from the insurance companies. Workers' comp, as you know, has all been transferred out to municipal insurance with the exception of wastewater, which is an enterprise account. You'll figure that with All right. And health insurance 4006, 69,210 last year. This year is 49,777. That's a matter of who's hired and what kind of insurance they take. The overall insurance rates from any municipal went up 7.6%. Dental, which should be the next page, 4007, budgeted 4,200 last year. This year is 3,500. Again, depends who takes what coverage. Stipend in lieu of health insurance. Obviously, from a budgetary point of view, it's very helpful if people don't take the full coverage, and that's why we give them the stipend instead of it. Life insurance, change from 0 to 284, not significant. Postage, all our postage lines, that's 5004, all our postage lines are pretty minor now. People don't mail letters, so mostly email, as you know.
But you have 500 in that one.
Yeah, well, we could knock a few hundred off.
I'm just saying, but last year we only had
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
I was just questioning.
It was just,
Does that include?
maybe it was meant to be 50. Was it meant to be 50?
Well, I think it was meant to be 50, I really do.
All right,
Was it?
we could fix that.
That's why I'm questioning it, because
Yeah.
last year was 50.
Yeah, I don't see why we need 500
Okay.
for the postage.
So
Oh,
it's a computer, it's a computer error.
450.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
Okay.
typo.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
dropping down 50,
Okay.
dropping down 5007 is diesel. And last year budgeted 30,000, this year looking for 22,800. Salt is an interesting one. Budgeted the same as last year, but we've been burning through it this winter, so I don't know if you want to bump it a little or just hope for a better winter next year.
Yeah, the salt, I can deal with the salt, but I have to, the sand's the one that's gotta come up. That's,
Okay.
salt's more expensive and we use more sand, and this year, we just couldn't do it with what we had. We had to buy back, I had to buy more sand and give it, and so
So
we're in the 60,000 mark now.
yeah, so last year was 41,000, now we're looking for 60, which is based purely on usage, so. Okay.
Is that enough? $18,000.
I've got enough to make it through.
But is 60 enough? Is this 60 enough?
60 will do it. I had 41 and I put that in there, and I just put another 15,000 in.
Good.
Because we've already spent 41.
Okay.
Cutting edges, 700, budget for last year,
Yeah,
8,700 this year. It's all a matter of, how much plowing.
how much scraping, it's an awful lot of scraping.
Culverts, this is just routine, these are just routine culverts, and 3,000 this year, 3,000 last year. There is one big culvert that's gonna fall under capital needs, and that'll be discussed later. Paving materials, 5012, 1,500 last year.
Can I ask,
The price of that.
Yeah.
culverts, seems like I thought we weren't doing many culverts now.
Well, the thing is, you buy your first one, and if it goes, and we maintain it after that. So if some culvert's gone, washes out, or rusts through, we're obligated to put a new one in for them.
Okay, so new homeowners
New,
buy the first
buy the
one.
first one.
They come to the town
They come in and get their curb cut permit, and then they put it all in, have someone, and if that goes bad, then we're liable for it forever. If they're not on, just on our town roads, not on the state roads.
Oh, just town.
just the
Okay.
town owns.
All right.
Do you go out and inspect them after, like a new homeowner, do you go out and inspect the culvert to make sure it's up to,
If they don't, make sure it's in right, yeah.
okay.
So, for now, that's adequate. I know you said it's likely to be higher than 2,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
but usually we pick up, we'll probably do a few in the spring, and we'll set 3,000 will be gone, so I know one has got to be done. Hopefully, yeah.
Turn the page into general supplies, 5016, budgeted 6,000 last year, spent about 2,000 year to date, and 6,000 is what's budgeted for next year. Other equipment, next line down, 5017, budgeted 7,000 last year, spent 4,300, budgeting same number, 7,000 this year. So there is a slight increase on the total supplies equipment. Last year it was 125, 925, this year 140, and the sand alone more than covers that. Repairs and maintenance, 6001, 7,000 last year, 7,000 this year. Equipment, 20,000 last year, 30,000 this year, and the big change is need tires for the loader. That's about 10,000 obviously. And the vehicles, almost the same, 18,000 last year, spent 10 year to date, and looking for 20,000 this coming year. And if there are some new additions to the fleet, obviously the repair line would drop, and that applies right across the board. 6011, traffic lights, courtesy of the new DOT lights, that comes to us. So $1,500 there compared to.
Yeah, 'cause we are responsible for this light here.
I thought that went away, I thought that went back to
No,
when they made the agreement downtown that they were taking this one over.
That's the impression I'm under.
Huh?
That's the impression I'm under. that-
And
Yeah.
it hasn't been taken over yet because they've had.
When they activate it.
When they
When those
activate.
ones downtown go active, then they're taking this one.
They're taking this one,
Yeah.
thank you, I thought,
Good to know.
because I was thinking the only one we have is the one up by the school,
That's just the blinking one,
just the blinking one
Mhm.
is ours.
that was,
And then, of course, the crosswalk.
yeah, I wasn't aware they were taking this one over when it all.
That was
started.
part of the agreement, the
Once
DOT
the
did
others
that,
reactivate.
Yeah,
yes.
So
well, we
So we have to
can,
wait for the
we could
railroad.
probably drop it maybe 500.
I drove it to 5.
Yeah, because
They
they
just gotta maintain
there'll be
walls.
there'll be some back and forth and
Mhm.
before it's done.
Okay.
Okay, town-owned buildings, got a lot of them. Last year budgeted 48,000, spent 34,000 already, and
Only on
I think
No.
we're,
3,000 or so.
3,000.
3,000.
oh, sorry,
Looking at the
You're looking at the
total.
total.
I'm out of line here. Okay, town-owned buildings, 3,000, oh, yeah. I should wear those glasses, I really should. So in the town-owned buildings, that's actually low, it's a low number.
It's real low for what they need, but, like the art gallery's working on, grants and stuff to redo that.
Yeah, yeah.
And like Scout Hall, we can keep putting little stuff in it, keep it up to snuff, keep the heat in it.
Yeah, the question about the Scott Hall. I know it gets brought up every year. Is it possible, I know they looked into it a little bit last year, of finding a different place for them to meet, once a week that they meet? Just because it ends up,
It's
just looking at the
possible.
lines, it's little over $2,160, just mentioning the water, sewer, and electricity, not counting heating. So I was just curious if they could meet at the school or community center.
The Scout Hall,
Yeah.
yeah, we discussed that one time
Yes.
a while back, when we had the meeting we had.
Yeah, I think it was last
Yeah,
budget six.
and this place was filled with people that were dead against
Yeah.
moving.
I wouldn't say it was filled. I think like 3 people came up to the podium. Kim,
Yeah, I read a letter
Yeah, there were
for
like a couple of
someone.
people. But yeah, we do have 2 schools and this building and the firehouse and there's the Sonic Lodge, Macy's, the American Legion, that could be.
Rec center.
Yeah, rec center.
Yes, Dave.
I spent 25 years with the Scouts in my career in the past, and usually the charter organization, whoever is chartering, whether it's the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, or the Cub Scouts, is the people that are responsible for the place that they meet, whether it be the First Baptist, or First Congregational, or in any organization that I've ever been involved in with scouting, it's the charter organization is who's responsible for the meeting place. It really should not be the town.
Well, I know we have brownies, Girl Scouts. I don't think we have Boy
No
Scouts.
Boy Scouts, just Girl Scouts.
Just Girl Scouts and
And
brownies.
Monday, and every other Monday and Tuesday they meet.
But who charters it?
I don't know.
That would be a real good question, because I was the council chairman for the Boy Scouts in Troop 254 in Warren, Maine, prior to moving here. And the First Congregational Church in Warren, who was our charter representative, they were responsible for providing us a place to meet.
So it sounds
Well, I
like,
think
They covered insurance and all of that. So why is the town eating the cost?
I think, John, maybe it's a situation where you need to make a phone call to whoever, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, brownies, and just maybe question as to whether we could possibly move them to a school or a rec center.
Okay, I can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
The letter that I stood up and read for someone who was unable to be here that night, that was Wendy Donovan, and I don't remember what her title was, but I got the impression that she sort of was heading up the scouts in Wiscasset, so you want to talk to her.
But they still have to
Yes.
have a charter
But she would
under
know.
what organization they're in, whether they're Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, or whatever. Somebody charters them because there's insurance purposes behind that.
Well, I think at this point we'll ask John to make a phone call.
The Legion used to do the Boy Scouts, I don't know if they chartered the Girl Scouts or not. For what little money we spend to maintain that building, the
It doesn't
benefit
make-
of the scouts,
It doesn't make a big difference to me. I mean,
We have to
You could
keep
sell
it
the
heated
building.
just so the
Yeah,
furnace is
because,
gonna
you know-
work anyway, so I'm sure we're gonna be spending money just to keep it.
We'll get the water shut down.
Right.
I think you'd sell it,
I'll check.
put it on the taxes.
they meet in the winter months too.
I keep it heated all winter when they meet.
Right.
In the summertime is when they don't meet.
Yeah.
Probably be good to find out what the deal is for the insurance purposes alone, in case someone gets hurt there.
My recollection was that if it's the Girl Scouts, I think they take care of the insurance. I don't think they have a sponsoring organization, I've never heard of it.
They have to.
Well, I
Because
don't
if I
know.
remember last year, there was a discussion about the way that, the condition that the scout hall was left.
That's all.
That was,
By the
that was a
Boy
big
Scouts.
issue.
And I told
The
them I
girls
was gonna
cleaned it.
do this and get rid of it, and they changed, and they get in contact with me when they have garbage there, and actually they bring it to the shop.
Good.
Okay.
And
All right, I'll check that.
All right, thank you.
Next page, 7002 traveling meetings. Last year's budget was 200 budget. As you can see, no money was spent. Same applies to no money being spent on 7003 trainings, but this year, there's always something to gain. I think it'd be fair to say that they've been too busy to go away to training, which they will, that'll be safety stuff and so on and so forth. And we're gonna have Steve Cummings come down and do some safety training from Maine Municipal, not next month, but the month after. Uniforms, that's just a matter of, who needs new uniforms, and it's $600 more, and they are expecting some additional purchases, which again, smallish numbers. Health screening is 7005, 800 budgeted last year, 600 spent this year so far, 900 budgeted next year. And as you can imagine, anything to do with healthcare increases in cost annually. Meals, token number in 300 for both this year and next year. No money was spent this year. FICA Medicare 70-10, 70-11 on retirement, those are there, so there's a saving of, anyway, so that's a $2,000. So the end result is about $14,000 more than last year.
Judy, you had a question? Yes. Was there any discussion about redoing or fixing the two parking lots downtown on Middle Street, one on each?
On the two ends, I was gonna wait for DOT to continue on and then hopefully I can work that in. Cause they're gonna fix the parking lot on Water Street where the Haggett's was. They're gonna work on that one. And, I'm gonna try to work that in, and if we can't, we're gonna, the one behind Creeks has gotta be done.
Yeah, that's in bad shape.
The other one's
And
a
the one on
canyon too.
Middle Street, the one on Middle Street, that needs to be fixed up there. I'm gonna work on that with DOT coming up. If not, I'm sure we can find the money to get it done.
Okay, so that's the public works budget.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, for the main art gallery, I know you said they're getting grants to help do the repairs. Is any of that money coming from the town possibly? Was that budgeted at all?
They've applied for a grant,
Yes.
and it'll be a small grant, so it'll be a small match. So they get it, it's not a significant amount.
Does it look like, do we have an estimate of how much it's gonna cost total?
Well, to do,
The, somewhat, I've been working with David Pope on this, and he's basically, we're gonna do what we can without, spending any money.
Yeah.
And the rest are gonna come from grants, because it's gonna, a lot of groundwork to be done, and we can do it with just diesel fuel and little labor. So basically, we're gonna not budget nothing out to fix the building, we're gonna stay right at $50,000 for outside buildings.
Ben?
The 2006 line, the sewer,
Yeah.
got all in the garage, it says $25 a month. Do we have a special arrangement for the town with the sewer district?
That's the minimum.
Okay. Well, my minimum is 95 a month. Wait a minute, they get billed every month?
Yeah.
Why is?
Not quarterly?
Yeah.
You can do monthly.
They got it broke down because it does come, the bill comes every month.
Yep.
I
I have
think
one
it
right
does.
here. The minimum is,
Because it comes with the
for
hydrant.
sewer, the minimum is $31.20 right now.
How
And
does
the
it,
water's $28.83.
how do you come, where do you come up with that figure?
I get billed monthly for water and sewer. And I have the minimum.
Okay, I get billed quarterly, I just figured that everyone got billed quarterly.
You can choose. The water minimum is $28.83 a month, and then the sewer is $31.20 a month.
Okay, that answers that.
Different numbers then.
Okay.
Those.
Your question?
About the main art gallery, they're applying for a grant, and I did a concept design and cost estimate for the entrance to make it accessible, and numbers came out to roughly 40. But they're gonna apply for a grant for most of that,
Good.
so just to let you know.
Thank you.
In addition to grants for the work that's being discussed, I haven't heard exactly what that work is.
I'm not sure what that is either.
Foundation.
Foundation work, thank you.
Yeah, and we can, we'll put some drainage in.
Oh, but that's work that is, I'm sorry, are they applying for a grant to help with the maintenance?
To help with the
there?
maintenance of the
Okay.
building.
It was part of it.
I just want to remind everybody, I mean, I know we have a big group here. If you have a comment or say anything, please raise your hand so I can not talk over each other. Judy?
Yeah, you had indicated for some extra help in the winter time. But don't you get some in the summer also?
We do, and that's when the cemeteries start up again.
Right,
Yeah.
so that doesn't come under this, it's under the,
It goes to the cemetery budget.
in the cemetery.
Because that's where they are designated for the cemetery.
Yeah. And then this one, well, since the new project and the sidewalks and everything down there, I've actually got to have a couple of people, which I use part-timers, and they gotta be on the sidewalks and to keep them accessible and sanded, salted. And the sooner I get them on it, because we're still on the roads plowing and then doing cleanup, then we're at the airport. And then I try to get them down there the minute they get done with here and around, and get them on it.
So that's your part-time assistance in the winter, is downtown during storms or whatever.
During storms and clean up downtown, because there's a lot of handwork now because of the light posts, we can't get the machines in there and stuff.
Okay. But anything else goes to the cemetery fund?
When in the summer.
In the summer,
Yeah.
okay. Anyone else have any questions regarding public works? Okay, let's go.
Moving on to the transfer station, Department 132.
Thanks, Ted.
I don't remember one thing, 1001 salaries, as you know, Ted has assumed responsibility for the transfer station, so that's why the salary lines are down. Let's see, there's some adjustment from the full-timers, obviously, there's one person less, the supervisor, director, whatever, has to be backfilled at a lower rate. But if you look at the total personnel line farther down, you will see last year we budgeted 140.9, and this year's budgeted 130.7, and that's the advantage. Ted's doing a good job. You might notice the overtime is a little higher because of some transitions and short staff, but overtime 1010 was budgeted 45.55 for this current year, actually spent 5,600 year to date, and so next year overtime is currently put in as 8,500, but the end result is $130,000 instead of 140.
And then, I interrupt for a second on the overtime is higher right now because we're down one person, and I have to cover on Saturdays up there. But I get back up to full par, 3 workers and a part-timer, then when someone goes out, the part-timer can fill in and I won't have to move them up.
Yes, Dave.
How are we down a person at the transfer station if Ted has taken on the duties as the director, along with his duties? Bob Wolf is still there, and Dave Gagnon is still there. When I worked there, there was Dave, what would have been myself, Bob, Steve Wallace, a part-timer, and Ron Lear. Ron is no longer there. Mathematically, how are we down a person?
Isn't it not true that the David Gagnon now is down at the highway department? Is he?
No, he's not at the highway department.
He's not, okay, I thought he was.
He's at the transfer.
He's at the transfer.
Yes.
Okay.
So how are we down a person?
Because Ron was a working supervisor up there,
Right?
and now he's not there, and we only have 2 people that are working up there.
So we're not down a person. If Ted has filled the role,
Ted is not
I have
working
filled that
40
role.
hours there. You understand? He's not working 40 hours. He's working 40 hours plus covers 2 departments. I don't know what your problem is exactly.
All right, let's go on. Go ahead.
Okay. Utilities, budget the same as last year, 6,000. Phone and internet, again, same number, 1,800. Heating oil, a little bit less, as you know, we're getting less than $2 a gallon. Propane, I think, was it a little under budgeted last year? We lined up with the,
Yeah, the propane should be the same, because the purchase of the new forklift doesn't burn as much propane as the old one,
okay.
so that should be fine.
So water's the same at 250, and that gray water holding tank, that cost is the pump out rate. That pump
Yeah.
out rate has risen.
That comes out.
So Basically, there's a residue, liquid residue underneath the hopper, and that has
The
to
reason why there's so much spent on that now is because DEP had come up with a chloridane, which is a pesticide, and it either come from, someone threw away something and it got into the tank. It takes the juice off the trailer, goes into this tank, so we couldn't dump it down here. So we was running it to Brunswick, but now I got tests done again, we come back good, and we're back to dumping down here. So,
Let's see. So moving along, we've got services, printing $250 both years, advertising $270 both years, recording license fees $501 fees, $501 both years. Contracted, 3,500 budgeted both years, but you've had a fair bit of work there. You can see 7390 was spent. Let's see, what was the?
door issues, with the original doors, and then just didn't hold up.
All right.
Flex card, you put in 800 for that again?
Mm-hmm.
The 39, okay.
Tipping fees are shown as the same as last year, 208,995, 208,995. We've spent more than half that year to date, but we are at we're into the 8th month, and we've got the rates are all listed off.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that changing. Actually, I suspect this will probably go down a little bit, because I straightened out the deal where they were diverting us, and the
Okay.
company that we're going to is up to staff now.
Okay. Landfill monitoring. You get checked what quarterly, is it?
Yes,
And that's just the price in Woodward and, what's it?
It's
Yeah,
the-
Woodward and Carl.
that's the test holes at the old landfill.
So that total services line is up about $1,000 from the previous year. Dropping down to 4001 property casualty insurance, a little bit less. Again, it's a matter of what they charge us and our safety record. Workers' comp, this particular line is shown because we've got contracts with all that in Westport Island, and we do like to show the number that relates to the department when we're talking about cost share. Otherwise, all of this would have run down to municipal insurance book. That's the reason. That's the reason it's there. Unemployment, 826 is budgeted. Nothing was budgeted in previous years. Health insurance, less than last year was budgeted 69.4. This year is budgeted 47.8. Again, a function of the demographic profile of the individuals, whether they take the family, whether they take the insurance, and so on and so forth. Dental, there's a drop in that, and from 5,400 to 3,330, and again, that's a function of who takes the coverage. Let's see, you'll notice on 4008, last year nothing was budgeted for people taking the stipend in lieu of health insurance. This year, some people are taking it, hence the 2,400 budgeted. And obviously it's saves the employer money when people choose to take the stipend in lieu rather than the full insurance. Postage, $20 and $20. Gasoline, small number, 5006, 117 both years. Diesel, a little bit less, or $5,000 less. 16,500 was budgeted last year. About 8,000 has been spent year to date, and 11,900 is what's requested. Is that enough?
Yes, that's because of the price drop, and now we're getting the fuel for this season. It's gonna make a difference up on that.
All right. Custodial supplies, total number of 275 both years. General supplies, that's line 5016, 2,500 budgeted both years. Year to date, spent about $1,000. Safety equipment, budgeted 800 last year, spent 900, and expect budgeting 1,000 going forward. Safety is a big deal, amongst other things. It affects our insurance premiums, and we are going to have some additional safety training in the next few months. So repairs and maintenance on the vehicle, 6004. The total, 21,300 from last year, this coming year, going to be 2,600. And we've got tires, a lot of those.
And this truck up there now has reached almost 200,000 mile mark, and we've had to do injectors and tune-ups, so we spent more than average this year, but next year we should be all right with it.
Okay. Dropping down, staff expenses, 3,000 budgeted this year, 3,000 budgeted next year. Let's see, travel and meetings, 702, budgeted 500 this year, budgeted 500 next year, a little bit over on that by $100. Training and education, budgeted 300, spent nothing. Budgeted another 300. As I said, we'd be doing some more training. Uniforms, 7004, staying the same, 375. Health screening, actually dollar for dollar, even though 687 is what we've got down and spent 400 year to date, 411. FICA Medicare, that's purely a function of wages and which retirement program they fund. Then we have the debt service, forklift, 8005, that's 5,000 a year. The dump trailer, 11,900. The loader, 18,100, both years. The trash trailer, 14,500, both years. And so that's an identical number, 49,552, budgeted this year, budgeted next year. Other expenses, there aren't any others. So that's, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, a separate question. If Mr. Snowden is director of both, would some of his salary go under the transfer station director? Because that would be shared within the towns?
Yeah, so,
What currently is it? Is it done that way? It looks like it's zero budgeted. So if he had whatever percentage he was over there, then at least that would get shared amongst the towns that use the service.
for now, we left it pretty much under
Yeah,
the
but
highway department. We haven't done the final allocation.
should it be
Oh, yeah.
split? Okay.
We just made this transition within the last month.
Oh.
Still a good point.
That is the point, I never thought of that.
But it's
Here.
not taking his old salary and just splitting it, is it? It's adjusting for the additional,
Yeah, there'll be, obviously with the additional responsibility, there'll be an increase in salary, and that will, based on our discussions, how much time he spends where, and of course, there's the administrative component as well. So yes, that'll be allocated. Okay, so that's, and on capital needs, we've got the forklift, right? This transfer station. Forklift, this transfer station.
Put it in place, the skid steer.
Yes.
Skid steer.
I'm calling it the wrong thing. So that'll show up in capital.
Capital.
And then, for municipal buildings,
Do we have a cemetery budget? Oh, there.
yeah, we went through that. You can always revisit anything.
No, that's fine. Very good.
Municipal. That's it. Okay. Basically, municipal building is the building we're in. There's always something, you know, floors, ceilings, electrical, plumbing, and so on and so forth. So on the personnel, we're looking at pretty much the same number. It's just $16,230 for this year, and budgeting next year, that's about 2% up, is $16,888. Electricity, that's pretty much on track. Phone and internet, 120 both years. Heating oil, down from 12,500 to 10,000. Water, same number, $2,000 for the year. Sewer, that seems to be in line. It's still at 2,512 for both years. So overall, the utilities are about 14.
Go back to the sewers for a minute.
Yes.
How's there's a 30% increase and yet we're asking for less money?
Yeah. Let's see, I'm gonna get my lines lined up. Let's see, that'd be line 2006. We budgeted 2,500 last year and we spent year to date 842. So
Where's the 2,500?
2,512.
Budget.
2020 budget.
The next one, the next column.
I guess I'm not looking at the right
Oh, the
one.
utilities, that's the total of them all.
Yeah,
Right-
utilities,
Right there,
total.
20 is what was budgeted, right, and that's what was spent.
So last year.
Oh, it's the total utilities line. that's
Right,
not-
that's what's-
not-
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, those total lines are kind of, they're not highlighted enough, I found. So,
But getting back again, if we budgeted 2,500 last year, if it's going up 30%, it'd be 2,500 again.
Yeah.
It went up last year.
Remember, yeah, it's not going up 30% this year.
It went up last
It
year.
It went up last year before our budget season, so we didn't budget for it last year.
If you see it in
1100.
2019, just then we had 1,375 budgeted. You got the 30% increase to bring it up to 2,512. We're not having an increase this year, so it will stay at 2,512.
Well, then it shouldn't say estimated 30% increase. It's old information,
That line should probably disappear.
then I wouldn't have asked all of this.
Yes,
Thank you.
Or you could put 30% increase from.
okay.
just remove that line, estimate,
Oh,
remove that number line right there.
okay. Let's see, services, $100 budgeted both years. Memorial, veteran memorial care, 300. And the total in that is 400. We've got a huge number of cemeteries, finding new ones, found at least one new one last year.
Yeah.
And especially with the Civil War, ones that were required, the towns are required to maintain. Health insurance, just a whisker above last year, 5330 was budgeted last year, it's going to be 5703 this year. Dental, same kind of increase, up from 233 to 273. So insurance line, the total insurance line is from 5563 to 5976. Supplies equipment, we're showing 4,000 budget for both years. Custodial supplies, I guess we'd run down on the supplies. So the end result is we're up about $1,000 in supplies and equipment from 4,000 to 5,000. And there's a constant demand for attention for the old building, whether we're cutting down the moss infested trees and bushes outside last year, painting, getting soffit painted, our new ceiling from a couple of weeks ago. It's constant.
Trying to get the eaves painted up and stop the rot and stuff.
And they do a lot of work themselves. And actually, so the chief is doing a fair bit of work down in his department. So budgeted 20,000 for this year, about 20,000 again for next year. And the fact is, the hours the road crew puts in aren't really reflected in how much work gets done. They just do it, which is great. Equipment, necessary repairs, $1,000 both years. Grounds, $60,003 both years. So repairs and maintenance ends up at $22,000 both years, even though we spent at the halfway mark, we spent $14,000. And sometimes that's not under our control. Ed and his crew are trying to keep up with the building that's old and slightly neglected, and trying to keep everything painted and looking good, whether it be paint, repairs, rotten wood, whatever. Anyway, so that's that, dropping down staff expenses, $100 both years, FICA, Medicare, and 6.2. No, that's one line. Anyway, that's 1242 last year, 1292 this year. Retirement, 974 last year, 1013 this year. So the total budget is about $300 less than last year. So $79,141 this current year, 78,801 this year. So that's the municipal building, and as I said, it includes some of the cleaning and so on.
And we've had trouble with the boilers this year. They're just getting old and they haven't been maintained prior to me coming on. And I had to get that moved out.
Ben, did you have a question?
Well, yes. This cover page, I take it, has not been updated.
The date on the bottom is 203. That was the very, very first one. And
Okay.
we've made some adjustments, and
So I won't look at that now.
when Kathy comes back, we'll be refreshing all those numbers.
We should have it updated by next Thursday.
Thursday.
Kathy.
Next Thursday will be our next budget meeting, and she's coming back on Wednesday. I wonder what she was doing when she gets back. Thank you. So now we're to parks and recreation. You're gonna have to give up the chair here to 20.
Oh, I had one question.
Okay, let me check.
Yeah, back to 2003, the heating oil. Is the biggest drop switching to a 4-day work week? Has that made a difference?
You guys are good.
20,
The heating oil. Has it made a difference switching to
I
only?
think that was the price, wasn't it? We got it.
Oh, for the-
Because I wasn't sure if it'd be less.
That was mostly the price. 4-day work week, well, they work 10 hours.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't heat the building as much on the other days.
No, you don't have to be quite warm, but I mean, with the way the insulation is and all the rest of it, you kind of drop them too far.
the ambulance and the police department and fire department, they're still around too.
Oh, so it's just this
It's
side.
just this section and they're not priority items, you know what I mean? The billing's all the same,
Those all the same. Okay.
same bill.
Is it on now?
Well,
I
we
don't
debated
think so.
whether we'd make it too hot for the group or whether we'd make it too cold.
You don't want us to fall asleep.
That's true. Okay, thank you.
So, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Ben.
Excellent.
Would you like to sit up there, Gwen?
Wayne, you're on the hot seat now.
Everybody knows Gwen. So who? Oh, I guess not then.
Forgive me, my voice isn't all there, you know.
That's because you took a vacation.
That's because you took a vacation. Indeed.
Was it warm?
That's the problem, when it's going to 85 degrees and coming back.
That's right. I hope you're here at time.
I'll run through, not in a ton of detail on the personnel, but a lot of part-timers here, and some of them were being paid less than minimum wage. So guess what? There was a bump of, probably 10% on average with some of the lower paid people. So, and there's so many of them. If anybody wants to pick out any particular one, we're looking at a 7.6% increase on personnel. And again, there's some hours changed, and you might like to hit on some of those, but the big push was on the minimum wage. I don't know how many, quite a few of the part-timers
right
A
on.
lot of the part-timers were making 11 and they had to go to 12. So that's, quite an increase.
We haven't increased personnel at all from last year.
No.
There's no increase.
No, actually, it was decreased because I'm still opening the building right now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
only to cover shortfalls in this current budget.
Okay.
And I can explain that if you want.
Yeah, I think you better.
All right. On a few of the lines there, front desk attendants. It was budgeted last year at 30 hours a week, and we currently average right now at 43 hours a week. I don't know why it was budgeted at 30 hours a week, but last year's budget was, and that's why there's an increase on that line.
So they're getting, just a
Ten-
question,
ten-
they're getting three hours overtime, or you have two separate people?
There's like 4 separate
There's
people.
4 separate people, so
Yeah.
nobody's getting
No,
overtime.
no, there's no overtime.
Okay.
No, I actually eliminated the overtime on the 1003 line. That was part-time overtime.
Okay, good, thank you. I'm sorry, interrupted.
No, that's all right. Other lines, fitness instruction, I don't know why it was at 6,000. We currently offer waterworks on a daily basis. And we have 2 night courses. That'd be for 364 hours. And 104 would be the 2 classes that we also offer from an in-house instructor. And that would come up to the 11,700. So that's all in-house cost that last year's or this current year budget is only estimated at 6,000. And just for the waterworks, that puts me at that number or over, a little bit over. So. You'll see the program, let's see, after school program counselor. This is based on 3 different counselors per week for the 45 hours a week, 42 weeks. That has increased as well because of the minimum wage, but also because it was under budgeted in this year's budget. I think we were only budgeted for 2, not even 2. So it was at the increase, we're actually averaging 30 plus, or right around 30 kids, a week in that after-school program. So we definitely need 3 counselors, and a lot of them are preschoolers. So it's you really need people on hand on the program.
Well, those numbers are up a little bit, aren't they, for 30, good deal,
Yeah.
good number.
Yeah, ASA is actually up. Speaking of up, our February camp that we're running this week is actually 30. We had 32 registered for it this week, so that's up from last year. I think we were right around 20 actually last year. So,
That's good.
so other than that, it's pretty, a lot of it's the minimum wage.
Yes, Judy?
What is the difference between aquatic director and aquatic specialist?
2 different people. Aquatic director is Lori LaPointe. Aquatic specialist is Nori McLeod. Nori Blind.
But do they do 2 different things?
Well, they're actually, Nori is not the director, but she's kind of like the assistant director of the pool type of deal. She takes on a lot of the lifeguarding hours as well as instruction and alongside of Lori. They're both WSIs. They both instruct for swim instruction. They also both coach on the sinkables team, and they offset that. They switch on and off. Sometimes they both go, depending on the number of kids that are going to the meets. And sometimes they switch it off. One person goes, one person doesn't. But that's 2 different people. That's why it's 2 different lines.
So, any questions, other questions? I can run through the rest pretty quickly, save your voice. Utilities 2001, budgeted 3,400 last year. Did we drop that to 32?
Yep.
We did, okay. So that's 32, 32,000, right? Phone internet, 5,100 last year, 5,874 this year. Different data plan, was that most of it?
It's actually because of the cost wasn't actually accurate on last year's budget. We currently pay $430 a month. $429 is what I have written down with for our phone system in the building. And it's actually something that I'm looking into because that's a lot of money. It really is.
So, let's see, heating oil again, 2003, budget 50,000 last year, budget 39.2 this year. That's a welcome break. Propane, let's see, we talked about that and we ended up at $700, we ended up at $350,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yep.
And water, we put the same. Sewer, a little bit of an increase, is that that's probably a usage thing?
Yep.
And I've got to eliminate that estimated 30% increase here. Okay. And so when we're looking at the total utilities line, it's about $9,000 less than last year. Primarily the fuel is a big part of that.
Actually, it's only 400 and something, isn't it? I have 99,358.
I've got 9274.
Don't you have the same Excel spreadsheet?
No, I'm using the one that everybody else has. Okay, we'd have to get back to look at that.
It'll be lower than that, because you've got to take
I'm sorry?
2,000, you're going to take 2,000 out of that line. Because we took 2,000 out of utilities. Electricity. Am I correct? Or did we? Yeah,
I have a bigger number.
I have electricity of 32,000.
Went from 34 to 32.
No, thank you, I'm not seeing them yet.
No.
Okay, yeah, but then we dropped it. And I dropped it to 32, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
that bottom line here, utilities has to come down to
Okay, yeah.
32,000.
But we were-
2,000. So
So the 88, right?
But we got a question on the heating oil, right, Dwayne?
The heating oil is 50,934, and that's based on 26,000 gallons at the $1.95 rate.
Okay, well, okay, let's fix that. Okay.
So that increases, the 39.2 increases to what?
Well,
I had 50,000 for last year.
All right, what did you have
For this year, what do you have?
I had 50,934.
For this year?
This year.
Next year.
Okay. 50,934 for this year. For heating oil. Okay,
All right.
so that'll change the bottom line.
Yep. Let's see. We talked about sewer. And I have 3,000 for last year. What did we decide for this year? Explain what you have.
3,200.
You got 32.
32.
My line comes out to $99,358.
$99,300.
$58 for the utilities.
When was yours
We have
printed?
90,000.
Was yours
I
printed?
printed it today, actually.
Because ours is from February 4th.
Yeah.
We have they haven't updated.
Okay.
Could you read that total?
$99,358
Thank you.
for the utilities. Which is a drop of $442.
advertising. See, last year was budgeted 1,500, spent 1,500 already year to date. So 2,500 is budgeted for next year. Recording fees, 5,000 budgeted last year, 5,200 spent this year to date, so budgeting 6,000. And let's see. And then on the contracted line, it was budgeted 20,000 last year, and the 800 spent, so 22,500. Equipment rental,
4,000.
4,000. And let's see. So those services are 35,000, so up from 29,500. Property casualty, next page, 4001. Last year budgeted 8215, this year budgeted 7687. Health insurance, I have a note to check with Kathy on this big drop. From 40,
There's only one person taking it.
only one person, so you figure that 27 is correct?
Yeah. That was the number that Kathy gave me.
Dental, small increase from $100, from 2,400 to 3,300. Again, it's a function of who takes the plan and what it costs. Stipend in lieu, got 2,400.
That should increase, wouldn't it?
No, that's two people.
That's two people?
Yep.
Okay.
There's only 3 full-time employees.
So, life insurance, 250 budgeted last year, 359 budgeted this year. And so the insurance line, actually has dropped from 56 to 4864. Okay, Val?
43,264.
Well. Basically, we ran this one early, and then Dwayne headed for vacation. We use his number in his format and it comes out earlier. We just have to reconcile them. Books and publications, nothing was budgeted last year. This year's budget is 500, which is more in line with what was done actually in 2019. Gasoline, budgeted 1,000 last year, only spent 370 this year, but budgeting 1,620. All right, is that the number you have?
Mm-hmm.
Why such an
It's
increase?
based on 60 gallons a month.
So that
It covers the truck and the equipment that we run, and snow removal if needed, as far as snow blowers, and covers the lawnmowers, covers the truck. It depends on the year, but we were under budget as far as what I looked at in previous years compared to what we had done for last year's budget.
Yeah, because 2019, you were 1864.
Right.
So.
So you're just hitting an average is what you.
I was trying to,
Diesel, tractor use, budgeted 200 last time, spent 421 year to date, and you're budgeting 950. That seems.
actually, I have 1,200.
You do?
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to talk. We'll have to run through this. Now that's obviously, you spent 400 year to date,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll be plowing.
No, actually, that is borrowing the tractor from the wastewater, I don't know wastewater, but the water treatment, water plant. We use it for the fields at different times, and we try to do some outside work with that as well, down at Sherman Park and also at the ball fields at the school.
Okay. The next two lines, let's see, regarding next line is the pool, chlorine, et cetera, up from 7,000 to 9,000, and that's basically a matter of cost of the chemicals. They're different, more environmentally friendly chemicals, which makes them more expensive. That's concessions. 4,000 budgeted last year, 6,000 budgeted this year, I'm assuming. we
I
got-
plan
we
to
got
do a
money
lot,
back.
I plan to do a lot more with concessions.
Okay.
We actually, the coming month of March, we have 5 different weekends of tournaments. So I'm hoping that we'll have a lot going on, so we'll be using our line a little bit more.
5015 is custodial, last year you budgeted 4,500, spent 7,000 year to date. And you're budgeting 5,000 for this year. Was there a reason, was there a big resupply or?
What my understanding was is that we actually took out of this line when we should have been taken out of the maintenance line, is what I've been told. So we'll get a back feed and look at some of the things that's been charged up to the wrong line. That's why I only increased it by 500.
Next page, 1519 is office equipment, 2,000 this year, 2,000 next year. Program supplies, 40,000 this year, 40,000 next year. So you've already spent 35,000 year to date. I'm assuming it's a seasonal.
And a lot of it, yeah.
More indoor stuff. Okay, so supplies and equipment went in total from 60,200 to 66,670. So our favorite thing is repairs and maintenance to all our buildings. And so last year we budgeted 36,000, and this coming year you're budgeting 38,880. And you've spent almost 18,000 year to date, and repairs are constant.
Can I ask what's in that 3880?
The main reason I increased that line was because of the age of the building.
Okay.
We're at 20+ years,
Mhm.
and the boilers have been, we're looking at hot water tanks, we're looking at the different things around the building that they're just getting to that age, that they've been the original.
Mhm.
So, we know that there's gonna be things that are coming down the line that are gonna need to be upgraded, and we're looking at the best ways hopefully to replace those without breaking the bank, basically.
Thank you.
So, let's see, the repairs and maintenance line went from, went straight down to the total, 45,100. Budgeted for this year, spent 21,000 and budgeted 48,800. And basically it's an old building. And the increase is pretty much first line, which is repairs and buildings. And staff expenses, dues and fees, 750 budgeted this year, 750 next year. Travel and meetings, 2250 budgeted this year, 2250 budgeted this coming year. Training and education line is still the same at 3,500. Health screenings, are there more health screenings? Is that what it is?
When you hire somebody, we have to put them through the health screening, and it costs about $250 a person.
So you're hiring more new people? Is that-
No, I'm just, if somebody's done, that's a lot of the things with part-time jobs. You don't hold people for a long time because they're minimum wage jobs. When you bring on somebody, you need to put them through that whole screening as far as it covers the town. I think that's town policy, actually.
Okay, and so you get to FICA, Medicare, and retirement, all those are based on employee choices and what the going rate is. So it's actually shows a slight decline. On the retirement is down 1,000, but it's up on the FICA, whatever, so to 36. So your staff expenses are up 3,000 from 53,891 to 56,071.
Yep.
Copier lease, 2160 both years. The treadmill, that's debt service. 5364 both years. Fitness equipment, 2668 both years. And so the debt service both years is 10,192. And that's basically, it on the expense side. Any questions? Yes.
Fields, does the school and the community center share costs? How does that, I know you have some kind of.
We usually do a lot of the stuff in the summer, because we use the fields for soccer, some of our baseball programs as well, as far as the ball fields at the high school. The Sherman Park and the park down at the elementary school and the basketball courts are all owned by the town now anyway, so we maintain those as well.
So you basically do the mowing and care at
We-
that, but how about when
Throughout
they,
the, most of the summer, we do it at the high school, because
okay, how about when they bring in outside to whatever they do to the field to make it better?
the school pays it.
School does that, yeah. What's
School
that
pays it.
called?
Sports field. They bring in a sports field to take care of the ball diamonds.
Yes, Kim?
What was the bottom line on this one? Because I know we had a lot of changes.
I think we had a lot of changes, I don't think we have.
I have 828, 531.
828, 531.
And then what you're looking at is a 2,600, that's the.
Yes.
Which is an increase of 4.84%.
Okay, so, since we had a shortish, or smallish, list of departments, I asked Dwayne if he'd be prepared to talk about revenue tonight also. So I distribute this. Now, you'll notice at the top, we're not really gonna get to that, is the capital improvements, which are all the projects they'd like to see done. And as you know, there's a capital improvement plan in place from 2017, so basically Dwayne he's got his items to do, he'll fill in on price at some point, and probably within a month or two, we'll have all that up to date, every department. So, revenue is on, revenue on the bottom there. Oh, it ran on to 2 pages?
I didn't think it, so it was on one.
You didn't go back to that?
I wonder if-
Actually, I put it on landscape.
We post it, we'll. No answers? Yeah, before we get the revenue part, do we know how many current members we have, or how many members we have at the Wiscasset Community Center, and then how many are Wiscasset residents?
How's the Wiscasset residents?
Well, if that's on there.
I don't think I have the Wiscasset residents one other than the last time that we met, actually.
Yes, it was 288 in October.
But I had active members right now, and this includes the senior silver sneakers, as well as active members as far as purchase memberships is 1,075 total members. active members.
1,075.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can give you the number as far as residents.
Is that separate accounts, or is that,
No, that is.
do we know how many separate accounts we have? Because I know the plan
It
last
was
year was
seven-
to.
It was 788 as far as separate memberships back in October, I think it was.
Because I know the plan
I
last,
haven't looked at it
since then? Okay.
78 separate numbers?
788 separate
Oh,
So separate accounts.
accounts.
Okay, because I remember the plan last year was for 3 years to increase the fees, dollar each year for all of them. And then I had a question
I know
on.
we increased last year. by
Yes,
$1
yeah,
per-
so that was the first year of the increase. And then I was curious about we didn't get to mention it with Lisa about it, that there was, after that time last year with the budget cycle, several new memberships were added that were lower than the community rate. We were just, wasn't sure why those were added or. Under the memberships, there's like town employee, fire department, school employee, school and family. We weren't sure why they were all added, or if it should just go under community or the regular rate, or.
There is a discount for town employees and school employees currently.
Yes.
And it's still,
Yeah.
it's still.
Just wondering the thought process for it for last year, why it was added.
Why it was added,
I think they've always done.
it's always been.
That's always been.
It's always been, yes.
Really?
That way.
Oh, Oh, I didn't see it.
in Saturday.
It wasn't on the website
It
last
is
year.
on the web.
Now it is.
Oh, it is now.
It was not last year.
No, it's always been that way. They went to grade school for years. We've always had a discount for town employees, and the thing was built.
Well, yeah, is there any thought of just combining it all to community member price, though?
Which is already a
It's already significantly
very,
discounted.
Isn't,
Right, we're already at the community partner price.
No, it's
Yes,
lower.
You're talking about everybody in the community to be lower to that, okay.
Any of those other, yeah.
I haven't thought about it that way, but.
No.
No, I don't think
No, not everyone.
No, I think
Sorry.
you,
He wants
that's,
to
I think
increase
that's,
everybody.
right, I
You want to
think
increase those to that.
the
School and the
town
town.
employees, so that,
School.
because the community partnership rate is already substantially discounted from the standard rate.
Mhm.
And even if the town employees, it seems to me, even if the town employees continue to enjoy a further benefit, it's sort of all over the place in terms of the
Yeah.
percentages. Like the school employees get a much different discount than town employees.
And actually, what I had found out for information on that was that it was a negotiated thing with the bargaining units.
Who would be negotiating?
The union's probably going to.
It was union negotiations, I'm assuming that could have been the school department and how they came up with and talked to whoever the past director was when that came about. I'm not sure exactly.
Well, it doesn't sound like they have the authority. to
It's
negotiate.
not, well, no, it's probably
The
negotiated
towns
with
is less than
the
the
director.
schools.
Huh?
The towns is a lot less than the schools, the town membership rate.
That's-
Because
Yes.
I've had like a school person come over and say like, hey, can you do anything to get us the town rate? And I was like, no.
And you also have the senior citizen rate.
Yes.
There's actually
And you
different
only
rates.
have to be 60 to get the senior citizen.
Yeah, it's
There
just-
is different rates for
Yes.
different rates for the
1, 2,
youth,
3,
different rates
4,
for families,
5,
different rates for single adults. Yes.
Yeah, there's 10 different rates.
How many have we gotten from Dresden?
Actually, Dresden has increased
It has.
substantially, yes.
Because I know we made the partnership with Dresden.
Yep, and actually, I think there's a couple other towns that, a number of the patrons for those towns have been reaching out to me as well.
Good.
And one of them was Richmond, and one is Woolwich.
That's awesome, good.
I am hopefully gonna get those in the works as soon as possible as well.
Oh, good. That's great. Yes, Kim?
Well, let me just, we're gonna talk about the revenue, so, right?
Yes.
So let me just hold off.
Okay, thank you.
I just figured the revenue speaks for itself. I mean, memberships,
Which sides?
the expectation is to go up from 150,000 to 160,000.
Do we know what we are year to date on the revenue?
On the revenue,
Mm-hmm.
It's not an issue.
no, it's not on that sheet.
I kind of accelerated, I do have a sheet with the revenue to date, but I figured that since Dwayne was here and he was gracious enough to say, go ahead, I mean, we can defer the revenue discussion until we discuss with the other departments and all on the same format. I just thought it'd be good, since there's been a lot of discussion about revenues, to jump on it, but we can put it off till next time.
That's all right, go ahead, if you,
No,
if you want to
I don't know the dates.
I might have up until January, that's what I'm looking for.
I'd rather have year to date, then we'll get up to January.
All these numbers are gonna change come next Thursday. So, I mean, I don't really wanna look at this year's revenue at this point. I really don't. I think we have to wait till these are all updated.
I will tell you that, as of the end of January, we were about $20,000 ahead of last year at the same time. So if that answers your question.
Well, not really, because I don't know how last year, I don't know how, okay.
Look at, Lisa had sent us the 2016 to 17,
Mhm.
and that was $184,993
Yeah.
for the membership for that calendar year. And then the 17-18, it went down to 176,000.
Mhm.
And then last year, 18-19, it was 133,000. And so it looks like it was planned to be.
And I'm going to tell you why part of that is because removed the automatic withdrawal membership, and the number of people that were on that did not necessarily re-up their membership. And a lot of people that said that they were on that, they would have kept it just so that they could have used the building. So that is something that I am looking at bringing back, because there's a lot of people that would like to have that monthly
Oh, for sure.
bill rather than every 3 months or a yearly bill.
That makes sense.
I think because of the economy, I think from our townspeople, they could would prefer the monthly, they can plan on a month basis.
And it's automatically withdrawn.
Do you know what the reasoning was with taking that away?
I actually do not.
I think she was trying to save credit card fees and bank fees, because now if you go in and if you pay anything with your debit card, you have to pay like an additional 3%,
Yeah.
which I usually pay because it's, you know.
Yeah.
But that should be on the person who's using the
Right,
card.
the person.
Right, that's what they're
they do
doing,
now.
but so that was a change though, that was something
Yeah.
that Lisa wanted to like reduce fees, but I think indeed.
But you could do a debit from the bank account and it wouldn't be any charge.
There is a charge, but I'm not sure how much it is.
Hmm.
But
Have
we
it
usually,
automatically
but we
withdrawn?
used to work that into the price
No,
of
it shouldn't.
the automatic withdrawal. That used to be worked into the price of the automatic withdrawal on our end, because we paid the fees before. And now, within the last 2 years, I think you took out the 10,000, well, I know it's not in here anymore. It was around $10,000, I think, that we paid in credit card fees every year. And now that is actually added on, when somebody uses their card, there's a 2.75% government fee on top of using it, on top of the fee that we're charging.
Are people still using it online?
Yep,
They do.
yep. But I will tell you that checks have been used a lot more in the last year than,
It's because they don't want to pay that.
because they don't want to pay that 2.75%.
I know that it's difficult to compare the facility in Wiscasset to neighboring facilities, but, you know, I've done it. Our community rates, I was really surprised to see just how discounted our community partnership rate is compared to surrounding facilities. For example, Damariscotta has a sliding scale depending on income, and a couple of our categories are still discounted more than 30% over their lowest price. So I wonder if you've spent any time looking at that, because I know we raised our rates $1 a year or $1 a month, but they've all done it as well, and some of them have raised, some of their categories went up $2 a month.
I currently haven't, I just took this on
Sure.
in the end of October, but it is something that I would definitely look at. The
I'll
other
make
thing
it
that-
easy for you.
The other thing that I would mention is that you can compare them to the Ys.
Well, yeah.
The Ys, Damariscotta doesn't, but Blueberry and Bass do have pools. So they have indoor tracks, they have indoor, you know, they have a lot bigger facilities than what we.
Right, and like I said, I understand that it's difficult to, it's not an apple and oranges thing, but it's still, you have to compare to somewhere, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
so.
That would be my only thing, is that it's not a complete comparison.
Right. I also noticed that other facilities all charge a joining fee for new members and for lapsed members. And I don't know how many new memberships you sign up every year, but that could be a fair amount of additional income.
Okay, anything else you want to deal with?
No, obviously, Gwen and I have to make sure our numbers reconcile and feeding them to where they
This
should
is what
be.
you're projecting for 2020?
453.5?
Yes.
So what's the second page?
That's a continuation.
That's continuation of the capital.
Those are the dollar amounts that go with the top.
Oh, okay.
I apologize, because I sent it to him, I printed mine Wednesday.
So it might be there. 20 grand more.
I just pressed the button.
I think it's hard for the rec department because of, number one, our demographics have changed in this town. We don't have the children that we used to have, I don't think. We're more senior, I think, sometimes. And if you keep pushing, raising the rates, I'm afraid people aren't gonna come because they can't afford it. That's my thinking.
I don't have a problem with what we've done this past year.
I think what we've done is good.
Yeah, and I think probably going forward over the next 2 years, I think that's probably all right. I don't think it's gonna push us out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that I would like to mention, a few things, and this is policy, I'm not trying to step on toes of how it came about or anything like that, but we had holidays that we were open, and currently, right now, we still pay for employees that aren't working on those days, because they're full-time, they get those days off, but we have no revenue to offset that, so that's a loss right there. You got 5 or 6 days out of the year that you're already paying, and you're paying at the loss. I would like to actually open those days back up. I think properly manage the people that are getting paid for those days already would still be paid, they would be able to bank those days. And I have the worksheet all worked out. Over the last 5 years, we've averaged more than $1,000 a day on those days. And some of those days we had over $2,000. So it's brought in, whether we run day camps or, different events on those days. I think that for a revenue-based, you want it generating as much revenue as possible, I need to be able to use it as much as possible too.
But opening on the holidays, would that entail overtime?
No,
Because they're already getting paid.
that already gets
So
paid.
you'd only use the ones
I
that,
don't use part-timers,
okay.
or myself, which I don't get overtime anymore.
Or maybe it's something that the board should see, bring it forward and let us, and we can always change our minds and go back. Because I think part of the issue when we did that was because of the overtime, was it not? On the holidays.
I'm sorry, but that was the word that was tossed out, but there was no overtime on holidays. There wasn't. We looked at the numbers. The police department had, a lot more overtime than Parks and Recs ever did. That was just something where there was another member of the board who was like keenly focused on Parks and Recs, and at a meeting during other board business, made a motion that we eliminate holidays, overtime, and any part-timer working over 32 hours. And our Parks and Recs director wasn't even present. And so that happened at that meeting, and my understanding at that time was that was a stopgap measure until the end of the fiscal year. And I think because people have changed, positions have changed, right? Employees have changed, and so that's just carried forward. But that wasn't anything that this board, it was with Bob. So with the last board,
Well,
so not
their
this.
names up into it.
Right, but the last board, it wasn't our current board, it was the last board
But we
did,
are
but it
still-
wasn't something that
We are
was
still in
done
the
based
fiscal year,
on.
so I mean.
No, we're not.
All right.
That was in the last board, it was in the last board, it was that last budget season, and it wasn't something that we did following like any sort of methodical process. We didn't look at any reports, we didn't talk to the Parks and Recs director. It was just kind of a thing that happened at a meeting. It wasn't even on the agenda.
Well, I'm looking at it now that if he can bring forward information to justify, basically, opening up on holidays, that we can have some more revenue, then I think as a board, we should really look at it.
Yeah.
I think it should be looked at on certain holidays. I mean, the 4th of July, for example. There's no reason to be open. Christmas, Thanksgiving, those ones.
President's Day.
But for example, this past week, we had President's Day. It's genuinely the start of school vacation. What, you should be open.
The days where families have the day off,
Right.
and they're not celebrating Fourth of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Those, you wouldn't be doing those holidays.
I just,
I wouldn't be interested in those holidays because that,
Bill?
you wouldn't have anybody in the building.
Did I understand that now when you're closed on a holiday, they're getting paid holiday pay?
I have 3 people that are.
Okay, so then
Myself.
if you make them work on that day, aren't you gonna have to pay them time and a half, double time?
Only if I made it work properly managed, why would you make it work? Because
No, I'm
all
not.
right, to me, you're only getting paid for the holiday, there's only 2 other people other than myself, that are getting paid the holiday pay.
Okay,
If they work that holiday, they can actually bank it according to the agreement that is
mm-hmm,
made with the town right now. So, to me, they still have to take the day off.
okay, no, what you're saying is they're not gonna work that day, other people are gonna work it. All right, that's what I didn't understand, thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody else, there's like.
I'd like to, I don't know, I want to speak for the entire board, but I think it's something we should look at and see the school.
No, I'm looking at.
That's no one, so you would,
Yep,
all right,
definitely.
that'd be great.
I'm hoping to bring more things to you too, actually.
Yes, Sherry.
So a question about, I know that prior to the community center being open, and if the community center closed, we would still have a budget for Parks and Rec, right? We always had to maintain. Do we have any idea how much that would be? How much of that budget is in the big budget?
I don't have it broke out like that.
I remember when I was in the budget committee before, we did figure that out, because we wanted to see how much it was being inflated, basically, doing something, paying for something that really we would have to pay for regardless of whether, it's not that building's responsibility to take care of Parks and Rec.
I think when Todd Souza was here, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
that was done, and he broke it out, that, I'm trying to think which one was the most, but he did break it out to say, this is how much you spend for Parks and Rec, and this is how much you spend for community center.
And the senior center,
And
you
the
know,
senior
everything was
center. Everything
separated, so
completely
that you
broken
really
out.
could see.
Because it is deceiving when you see that one big lump sum. It really is. And people don't realize that you've got some for to maintain the building, you've got some for baseball, football, whatever they play out there. And you should have a football.
Well.
It's very expensive, too expensive.
I will mention that, and I actually had this email conversation a couple weeks ago, back before the building was even thought of. I think it was the last year before the building, we raised $215,000 for recreation. What that says is, that doesn't tell you how much revenue was brought in though, to offset that. So, I do know that that was the amount that was raised, I think it was 1998.
Appropriated and raised, you mean? Yeah.
Judy, and also, your department has taken on down at the waterfront. I don't know if
No
you
longer.
still have to do that. Is that,
No.
for a while, you were mowing there, you were mowing here, you
Yep.
were doing the bathrooms down there, and
We were for a couple of years, but I think
that's changed.
last year, I think that was the end of it. Ted, I think, his office taking care of all that now.
Yeah.
So were you saying that we are going to be looking at this revenue again next meeting?
We're going to be current year revenue. Am I correct?
Yeah, we're going to look at the actual revenue.
Because my concern is that I don't know how much past actual revenue that was achieved is being taken into account when we project for future revenue. Because the 2019 budget projected $450,000 in revenue, but they only achieved 394 and change. So, you know, that's a substantial amount less, but then the next year, they only dropped their projected revenue about $10,000. And it was more like a $56,000 less. I just want to be sure that we're not overinflating or, you know, if we're not being overly optimistic. I want to know what those numbers, a little closer.
Go ahead.
As of the end of January, and I got this, I just found it, it's $222,478.09 has been raised in revenue.
222,
78.
78, thank you.
And what was your projection?
And that's through the end of January.
Okay.
6
What
months?
was your 2019 projected?
So that again.
What was your 2019 projected?
440.
I think it was
440.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's like half.
Yeah,
That was right on target.
that's pretty close to that.
Nice job.
Yes, because you still have your summer program coming up.
Yes.
Which will be included in this year. That money will come in now, well, in the spring, it'll come in. And then you got your spring sports and things like that will be coming up. Okay.
I will mention just a couple things, and Jeff already knows about this, and John does as well. December and January were the best two December and Januaries that we've had in the last 5 years. As far as people in the building, people coming through, and money. 2 days in January, we surpassed 200 people scanning their membership cards on certain days. So I think that things are coming around. I think things are looking up. I think Center has a very positive outlook right now. I think things are going forward in the right direction. So.
I just want to say that I think that that building is an asset to this town. It is used by more people than any other building in this town. Not just for the activities and things that you offer, but, and it's every age, from children right up to seniors. But when we lose power for a week at a time, you open that building up to people to use. And now where would they go to have a hot meal, take a shower? I appreciate that building.
One thing I wanted to ask, speaking of emergencies, do you have a generator?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's not hardwired. We have to run it, but yes, we do have it.
Why hasn't it been hardwired?
Cost.
But that's expensive.
Well, to me, I'm thinking that if you're gonna use this as a place in a storm, or that it should be hardwired.
There might be a grant for that, if it's a designated shelter.
Yeah.
Homeland Security or whoever
Maybe
came up with
something to
somebody.
look into.
Planner, maybe
Yeah,
a
the planner.
planner, we could get
Yeah,
grants.
that's planner. Because I do think.
I know that has been looked into as far as, I think, we've gotten estimates on the cost of actually hardwiring it so that it would come on automatically and run, periodically, like once a month or, whatever it
Usually
is.
once a week.
Yeah, once a week.
But, we have one here, down here, and I think if we're gonna utilize that as a shelter, then to me, that's important, and you need to have your electricity. Yes.
I have a question. Does the community center have a space for the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts to come once every 2 weeks?
It depends on what time they want it to
They
come.
want it?
It really does.
So,
Because space is limited at times because of different programs and different activities that go on around the yeah. So it really would depend on the days.
I think we need to expand it.
Why couldn't they use the school?
they could be split up.
I'm not sure.
It's nice to have someplace with a gym.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
have a
as a
problem
Boy
saying
Scouts.
that.
He's thinking of some of the building.
Yeah.
Is what his.
Well, Girl Scouts too.
Well, I'm interested in selling.
Right, no, but that's, yes.
Okay, we're getting off track, guys. We've only got 20 more minutes, the meeting's over with at 7. Tech meeting here.
Promise?
I promise, I'm out of here at 7.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Want me to move the clock, Judy?
Now, you can leave that clock right where it is, please, thank you.
Turn to the wall.
Dwayne, thank you.
Okay, item number 6.
You're done, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Item number 6, if you look at this sheet you got earlier on, all the departments, you will note on, let's see, At the very bottom, one historic comprehensive plan at $20,000 in that budget. For last year, hasn't been
Wait, what?
spent.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That front sheet?
And also on planning, had 28,700.
Oh, but in this planning page, it's just the 28.7.
Yeah, but there's also a separate for comprehensive, there is a separate page for comprehensive plan. The only, let me finish. The only question we had is with that 28.7, did that include 20? And do we, yeah, and I have to check.
It's
Yeah.
not, it does not.
It does
It's
not.
got nothing to do with comprehensive plans.
That's what I
That's
thought.
how I remembered it though from last year, because I thought for planning, we only budgeted 10 hours per month of.
10 hours per week
Yeah.
at $57 an hour for 52 weeks a year is $28,700. That was for the
That
part-time.
sounds right, but
All right, I
I did
couldn't
need to check
remember.
it because I wasn't 100% clear.
Okay.
So that's,
It was two separate lines?
Two separate.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was my understanding and I wasn't 100% sure.
definitely.
So,
Yes.
all I wanted to do was throw those dollars onto the table and discuss them. We don't have to discuss them tonight, but just everybody think about it. And I will check the 28.7. The 20 for sure was comprehensive plan.
Well, with the 20,000, like, we didn't spend it this year, but I am fairly certain we will want to spend it next year. So I don't know if we need to put it to the voters again. I don't know how that
We
works,
just
or if we just carry it forward.
We can carry it over.
I know we don't need 40,000, like, I still
Again,
think it's a
out of the
20,000.
28,000, 9,000 comes out of the TIF plan, out of it.
That's right.
And if we have the 28,000 now, we have a planner, we can just add on to it, we can push that over.
Because that gets you 1 year. I mean, when you commit to something like this, it goes on and on and on. And then the question would be, do you want a full-time planner, which 28 isn't going to get you there, that's about half of it.
But if you made that around $50,000, you get a planner and economic development person in one.
Yeah. Now, 50 is on salary or including benefits?
That's salary.
Okay, well, 33% approximately
Right.
is what you have for benefits.
So I'd like to get
I don't mind, I mean, that's the discussion.
It is a discussion we can have, I just want to be able to get somebody in there to help bring businesses into this town and have our economic growth. Help Bruce, because I think he's behind the 8 ball here, he's only got so many hours.
So he's out there inspecting buildings and then it's a bunch of phone calls and paperwork and stuff. So, Kim, you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to ask, did we confirm that those monies that weren't spent last year were not put towards taxes? I know we put something last year towards taxes. Okay.
We used the planner money actually that was from the year before.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that was voted on specifically.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That was done by petition.
Just wanted to make sure we weren't spending it twice.
No.
Nice. So, anyway, that's just bringing that forward. As Judy says, there's a lot to be done. I was looking through all the records, we used to have a town engineer, we used to have a full-time code enforcement officer, we used to have a full-time planner. And for all reasons, good, bad, and indifferent, we're now left with basically a half-time code enforcement officer. So,
I would like to see the bottom line before we
Yeah,
add new things.
Yes, definitely, that's a discussion to have.
Because it shows 4.2%, but something tells me it's going to be going higher.
So, anyway, that's, for now, it's just out there. And I will double check everybody else's memory is correct. That it's 28.7 was budgeted. So, if you recollect early on, there was a short page with a number of capital improvement requests. These were on a splitter. It's right here. It's just before celebrations and just after the green one, and just after boards and committees. So it was, if you recollect, it was colored. Looks just like, You got it?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, you got it. This is the one. This was a preliminary list, and I can give you some of the other things that are around there, and of course, Wayne has,
As far as the Oliver's money goes, isn't that being grant funded?
some of it is. We end up having to pay, according to Rick's calculations, out of all of that, we'd have to find 55,000.
Okay.
And I'm trying to put it on a spreadsheet that's logical.
Okay.
I might
So,
have-
so we didn't have the 125 or whatever, that amount when we did the negotiating?
Yeah, we got,
I'm not throwing anybody under the bus.
No, no, no,
Because
no.
I was sitting there, so.
no, I'm just trying to see in my head how I arrange the numbers. There's a 20 we already, there's 20 we already have. There's some forgiveness, and there's another 5,000. Yeah, I'd have to put it all together.
I just see it in the capital, that's all.
And basically, this is the big stuff. But we've added, there's a few more things, I won't give you the numbers, because I would just upset you. Well, we've mentioned the skid steer, that's $30,000, it's not on this list. There's a culvert, I think I mentioned, on the Old Ferry Road that is going to need some serious expenditure. Ted is talking to Crooker about it, and we'll get some sort of figure. It's something that will have to be done. I hope it doesn't compromise the paving budget. But, and then there's a fire truck, because as you know, the ladder truck isn't working and attempting to save. And what they're doing is they're doing a final inspection, kind of like an autopsy. That you get the United Underwriters or whatever they call them. So they will say this, all dead. The thing is, weigh it and sell it for scrap, or somebody might want to stick it in a museum. And then one last thing we did, and Dennis got some of the numbers. We've been concerned about building security, the keys, the cameras, and all the rest. So we got one quote from it. It was Seacoast.
Seacoast.
Yeah. And to put cameras, change locks, and put a whole security system in place. Could be done incrementally, could be done building by building. But the outer number, the big number, is 31,000. Whether we can, anyway, those are all the numbers apart from what Dwayne has on his list. That we can feed all this stuff into a capital improvement plan. But for now, those are what I would call the near and dear expensive. the near things that we have to look hard at. So that's all I was planning on saying about this, just giving you call it the worst case scenario.
Again, I said, I want to see all the other figures that go with the budget itself.
No, I fully understand that.
We are so far off from analyzing that.
No, I just, my view was, but Bernice is gone, so that didn't allow us to keep up to date with Kathy scheduled her vacation long ago.
No, I appreciate that.
So anyway, so that's, yeah, we look at that. That'll be something, as you know, previous years, you look at it all and say, what can we do, what's reasonable, how do we go about it, or not. So item number 8 is increased fees where possible, and I asked, we'll be getting some numbers from the waterfront committee. The board canceled the meeting on Tuesday, which would have been a selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, and one of the items on the agenda was look at the new proposals from the waterfront committee, and they were looking at increasing fees from 400 on the smaller building to up to 1,000, and on the bigger building, I think 600 would increase to 1,500 just for the season. And so the board will look at that this coming Tuesday, because effectively we're going to be looking at the exactly the same agenda, because I don't want to make it confusing. Yeah, it's confusing. The only thing, it'll be the same agenda. The only thing is the liquor license application will have to be pushed off till the regular meeting. So, but they've all been informed. We've done the advertising. So
Judy
That's-
has a question.
I'm sorry.
Well, you added to what we have, right? When you were talking just then, you added quite a bit, and we'll get that.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
You added things to the capital
Oh, yes,
improvement,
yes.
and you'll get us
Oh, yes.
that list.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to double check with the individuals that gave me the numbers.
And we don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
any of these
Like the
now.
break, okay.
No,
I
we're
would-
not gonna discuss these
Right.
tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk about it. So anyway, looking at some fees, that's one thing that will be an increase. It's only reasonable to bring them closer to market rates. And I had Mary Ellen look at some fees that adjoining towns and such like do charge. There's a long, long list, and we only charge a few fees. Flip side is, if you're charging fees, you've got to keep track of the fees. And there'll be an administrative cost to doing that. Anyway, looking at that, and in the next few weeks, I'll pick up the easy stuff. And then, beyond that, just talking about the next meeting, which would be, we skip Monday, because we're not ready to get updated numbers. But, the next meeting then would be Thursday, February 27th, and I'll get Rick from the airport, who was on vacation when I did a quick run through last time. Fire department, I've spoken to Rob. And then the waterfront that I referred to the board next Tuesday will be looking at the proposal from the board. And then from the waterfront committee. And then the next meeting would be, as I said, the 27th, and the budget summary, as accurate and as comprehensive as we can make it, will be unveiled at that point, and we'll have a rough idea what the increases look like. And then we talk about how to
Other
close.
meetings.
We talk about other meetings. Anyway, so I don't think we'll have a need for too many meetings. It's more thinking time than running through a pile of numbers.
I think we've done a very good job to get through this in the short time we have. And end of February, we've gotten through the budget. Now we just need to get it all coordinated and see what we have for numbers. And we have to wait for Kathy to get back to that. And then we can do our discussing and cutting and whatever you want to do.
It isn't gonna be pretty.
It's not going to be pretty at all, no. Not at all.
But we will get through it, like you said.
We always do. We always do. Are there any more questions before we adjourn? From one of the selectmen, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Yeah.
You said that loud.